All right, good morning, traders. It's October 16th, 2025. My name is John Kerrigan. I'm the lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room. That is the day trading service for the hit and run candlesticks family. Thank you so much for being here. I want to thank everybody out there in podcast land, digital land, cyber land for following my content, subscribing my content, liking my content, leaving kind words on my content, and of course, sharing my content. Special shout out Kathy, Sarah Roasted, John Jordan, Bob Jordan, everybody that shares it helps to get the good word out there to the rest of the world so that they can profit as well. Thank you so much. All right, let's drill down and see what we got. Got one announcement. We're going to have members e-learning today at noon. I'll be in there probably from noon till 3. So I present at 1 o'clock. Ed's going to present at noon. Rick's going to follow me after right around 2 o'clock, okay? Topic is going to be position sizing, how many positions to have on at one time. All right, so if you don't see me, that's where I am. I'm in the combo room. How to get to the combo room. Let's see how we can do this. See if I can get this done without messing anything up. All right, to get to the combo room, you go to the membership. You log into your hit and run candlesticks. Okay, right here, if you're a BYOB trader, all right, you come over here, hit combo room, click this link, new browser page opens up, and you just fill in the appropriate stuff and just log in to the combo room. So that's where it is, right there. Okay, so that's today at noon. So you'll see me in there at noon. All right, let's take a look at the markets here. Let me see if I can slick this down here. Okay. Move this out of the way. Start the morning monologue. All right, so my SPY pivot this morning, 664.50 above it. I'm a bull, below it. I'm a bear. Yesterday, IWM, SLV, GLD made new all-time highs. SPY, QQQ, and Diamond Dow made higher highs and higher lows, closing over bearish traps and over their 17 EMAs. FNGU made a higher low and a higher high, but closed under a bearish trap. Then we got some conflicting signals there. So you got the big caps not quite as bullish as the small caps and the mid caps. All right. SPY closed with 2-hour uptrend and a 10-minute bullish consolidation. So we were in a 10-minute uptrend, but then they decided to consolidate and just move over to the right. All right. So silver, I don't know why that says that. Silver made a new all-time high, okay? USO in a daily downtrend made a higher high and a higher low, closing under a bearish trap under the 17 EMA. UNG in a daily downtrend made a new all-time low. US dollar index remains in an uptrend and closed near the 98.69 area. SPY max pain, that's for the options that expired today, all right, at 4:15. Remember those index options expire at 4:15. Securities options expire at 4. Okay, we got a SPY max pain at 664 with a put to call ratio of about 1.6 put for each call. So a little over 1 put for each call. If you're seeing this for the first time, hold on. If you're seeing this for the first time, okay, everything in here, these are all in daily uptrends over the 17 EMA. See underneath the bulls. Over here, these are all in daily downtrends under the 17 EMA. If they have a star next to them, they're building out a launch pad from which to launch higher. Launch pad is like a bull flag, okay? So building out a bull flag to launch higher. Bears, if you see one of these stars next to it on the bearish side, they're building out a platform, or otherwise known as a bear flag, from which to dip lower. All right. So there's let's take a look at the charts now. Okay. So there's these are daily downtrends, daily uptrends right there. All right. Let's take a look at SPY. You can see we made a higher low, higher high, closed over a bearish trap because the 3 is underneath the 8 over the 17 EMA. Okay. So let's take a look at. Let's take a look at the quadrant lines on here. See where they closed in relation. Okay, so we did not close in the upper third. From the perspective of the high down to this low. Okay, we did not close in the lower third. So still kind of neutral, bullish, okay? So where do you get the bullishness from? Okay, I have to zoom out. Okay, from this low up to this high, we're up here in quadrant 4. That is bullish. But because of the move back, you can see right here on the quad lines, okay, back up here, you can see we did not close in the upper third. We closed near the midpoint. We did not close in the lower third, so that was not bearish. So neutral to bullish right there on SPY on the daily time frame. Let's take a look at the 2-hour chart. Let's take this off. All right, on the 2-hour chart, you can see price action. You got the candles and the 3 EMA, which is this yellow line. See this yellow line that zips up here? That's above the 8 EMA, so that is a uptrend. So we left off yesterday with a 2-hour uptrend. Now my favorite trade, 10-minute uptrend over VWAP, that resides inside a 2-hour uptrend, that resides inside of a daily uptrend, that resides inside a weekly uptrend, inside the monthly uptrend. Got all the bigger time frames supporting my 10-minute uptrend. It tends to make it last longer and go further. All right. Not a big fan of trading counter trend. So there's SPY on the 2-hour chart in a 2-hour uptrend. Back to the daily chart. Okay, you can see on the daily chart, we made a lower low. So technically, we're in a downtrend. But get this, we're not moving down. We're moving up. Okay, so if you look at this big red ugly candle right here at the top, okay, it is a move down with no follow through. All right. They actually tried to follow through right here. Yes, not yesterday, but the day before. They failed to make a significant lower low. So you can see we've got a double bottom. Therefore, price is probably going to race up here and try to produce a higher high, or at least test the highs, okay? So that's the plan for price to run up here and test those highs up there. So there's SPY on the daily chart. I want you to notice, big candle, no follow through. They broke a lower low, all right? So here's the low. They made a lower low. So that puts them in a downtrend that's not working, okay? Or a downtrend that's not moving down, okay? So there's SPY on the daily chart. Let's take a look at the 10-minute chart. You can see we left off. We had a 10-minute downtrend right through here till about 1:30. And then the bulls took over after hitting support. Right in here, we have support. They hit support, bounced off of the pivot, all right, which was yesterday's pivot or the support, either one, or this low, okay? You can see buyer stepped in here before, all right? So buyer stepped in here yet again. Okay, so price action then comes up out of here, closing off the 10-minute downtrend, now converting a 10-minute uptrend, not over VWAP yet, but moving up and consolidating right here into the close. So we got a bullish consolidation coming into the close yesterday. All right, so it's a, if you want to look at it from here, it's a weak 1 candle uptrend, but it is bullish consolidation because it went under and they're holding the higher ground up here. So I call it bullish consolidation like that. So on my bias this morning, if you were with me yesterday evening, I was speaking to the room and the crowd out there in video land and podcast land. I said, what I'm expecting, all right, is price to consolidate, all right, or possibly even move up and consolidate over prior consolidation, either in the post-market or in the pre-market or in both or just one, okay? And I said my direction when I trade my futures at night, let me see if I can get my drawing tools out, if they're going to work. Hold on. Let's give it a shot. Okay, if you were with me last night, I said I am going to trade. That's not going to work. All right, well, we got a fix for that. And here it comes. back out. I don't know why. Every time I start a video, my drawing tools don't work. But it's just a brief. Let's get the arrows back out here. So I said I would probably be trading in the overnight from this direction up, this direction up, this direction up. All right, picking off the lows and trading it up to the high, and not getting rid of everything in anticipation of a breakout to the upside. And then from here, I would trade from this direction up. And I would look for consolidation over prior consolidation to develop. Okay, so that's exactly what we got. We got from price action, consolidated into the 8 o'clock hour, and then we got to move up, and then we're looking for more consolidation. So we trade from this direction to the upside above the consolidation. All right, so this morning my bias is bullish. All right, so I'll be looking to pick off the lows of the candles yet again for the third time in a row. Okay, the lows of my option candles. All right, I'm going to box off the first 15 minutes and probably trade the breakout. I'm really not interested in going counter trend, but I will try to pick off the lows of the consolidation since I'm seeing consolidation over prior consolidation. That is a bullish environment, therefore leading me into a bullish bias. All right, so I will look in the morning time to pick off the lows of these candles when we open up in the morning. Okay, so for price to head higher, because I don't see anything climactic yet. Okay, so there's my plan for SPY. Same thing for QQQ. All right, QQQ is going to have the same deal. Let's go ahead and drill down into QQQ so you can see it. Okay, notice QQQ, again, the same thing. My bias was to trade, all right, from this area up, there, up, up, and then from here, up. The consolidation over the prior consolidation. Okay, I said this was probably going to happen. Look for price to consolidate over prior consolidation. That's what we got. Okay, so I'll be looking to pick off, because I don't see any exhaustion candles yet, the lows of the candles on the option. All right, so there's QQQ on the 10-minute chart. 10-minute chart for QQQ. Let's take a peek at it. You can see we got 10-minute bullish consolidation coming into the close. All right, just leaning on right here. This will be the VWAP line. Okay, so you can see price leaning on VWAP right there. And then finally consolidating above it, having a pullback, and then price ripping up here. Now consolidating over prior consolidation leads me to a bullish environment, which leads to bullish bias this morning. So I'll be looking to pick off the lows of those 10-minute candles. So there's QQQ. All right, let's go back to SPY for just a second here. All right, on SPY, daily chart. Let's pick it up right here again. Okay, we got a higher low, higher high closing over the bearish trap over the 17 EMA. QQQ did the same thing, okay? QQQ, higher low, higher high, closing over the bearish trap over the 17 EMA. Again, we'll put the quad lines on there. Now, QQQ did not make a lower low, okay? See, they don't have a low that's below the 17. Okay, they did make a big ugly red candle down, but just like SPY, no follow through or a failure right here to make the lower low, all right, or to make the follow through, failed to make the lower low. So price is probably going to come back up and challenge the highs up here. Again, we didn't close in the upper third, QQQ. We didn't close in the lower third. So we're just neutral bullish right here on QQQ from that pullback to that high. Again, on QQQ, if I pan way out, you can see We're up here at the top of quadrant 4. That's bullish. Okay, QQQ still in an uptrend. SPY not in a daily uptrend because, but the good news is they're not moving down. Okay, so there's QQQ. All right, daily chart, 2-hour chart for QQQ. Yellow line up here, and the candlesticks are up over the 8 EMA. So we have 2-hour uptrend coming into the close. 10-minute, we reviewed it earlier. Bullish 10-minute consolidation coming into the close. And of course, you saw my bias. I'm going to be looking, we've got consolidation over prior consolidation. So I'll be looking to pick off the lows of those candles. And my bias is bullish this morning. Okay, on the weekly chart for QQQ, still in an uptrend. Same thing for SPY. Okay, on the weekly chart, still in an uptrend. Monthly chart, SPY still in an uptrend. QQQ, obviously still in an uptrend right here. There's QQQ. All right, let's take a look at the daily chart. We'll head back to IWM. This is going to be easy. New all-time high for IWM. Small cap, mid caps making a new all-time high. This is strange. We got IWM making new all-time highs. T21.22 and T21.23 is not. All right, so here is IWM on the daily chart making a new all-time high since this April low right there. So obviously bullish and in an uptrend right there. Diamond Dow. All right, Diamond Dow made a lower low, so they're the same thing. They're in a downtrend that's not moving down. Or this actually looks like, as opposed to an igniting candle, this looks a little bit more like an exhaustion candle. See how price comes down, low, 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 red, 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 and then finally the biggest candle at the end of the move right into the support structure right here. See all of this consolidation right there. So we got right into that consolidation. No follow through again. You can see not yesterday, but the day before, failure to make a significant lower low. Price is going to come back up here and try to challenge the highs right there. Okay, with the quad lines on there, you can see where we closed. We got up into the bullish territory, but notice we could not hold the higher ground. Okay, we were down here, and obviously the bulls said, not today. All right, and they bought it back up. So you can see they bought it back up here, and they bought it back up here. So they're not bearish. They're not bullish. They're just neutral bullish. Because from the shorter time frame, you've got this low, this high, down to this low. You can see in the quadrant lines, we're not in the upper third, not in the lower third. So just neutral through here. But the neutral bullish comes from price all the way up here at the top of quadrant 4 from this location down here. All right, makes that bullish up there at the top of quadrant 4. But here's our pullback right there. So neutral bullish, all right, up here on Diamond Dow. Let's take a look at FNGU. Now here's the big caps, okay? Now notice a little bit different thing going on in the big caps, all right? These are 10 of the most heavily weighted securities. All right, that are all inside one ETN. These heavily weighted securities are in the SPY and the QQQ. When they move as a pack, all right, they can jerk those indexes right along with them. Okay, but you notice on this, yesterday's candle, again, we got the higher low and the higher high, but we're not closing in the neutral territory. We're closing for the second day in a row in the bearish territory. The good news is, they made a lower low, but since then they've abandoned it. All right, so after making this lower low, I guess the bulls fought them off just enough for them to abandon the mission to come down here and make even more lows. So there's FNGU. Again, this would be just kind of neutral bullish up at the top of quadrant 4 again. And of course, they'll get the bullish because we're still up at the top of quadrant 4 or in the middle of quadrant 4. All right, so that's bullish, but still in a downtrend on FNGU because we got a low here. We made a lower low. Technically, we're in a downtrend, but we're not moving down. We're actually moving over to the right. So there's FNGU on the daily chart. Weekly chart, you can see right here, we're still bullish. And the monthly chart, same deal. Okay, we're still bullish. Okay, we're up at those. We're up near the all-time highs, but we're not making new all-time highs. There's FNGU. All right, let's take a look at silver and gold on the daily chart. And let's start with GLD. Gold, new all-time high yesterday on gold. So that's obviously, see here's the path. Bullish and still in an uptrend. Okay, silver finally makes a new all-time high. You can see the path, bullish and still in an uptrend. Okay, top of quadrant 4, that's bullish and still in an uptrend right there. Okay, let's take a look at USO. All right, USO on the daily chart right here. Okay, it's in a downtrend. They're making lower highs and lower lows. You can see here's the low. They made a lower low. Yesterday's candle, higher low, higher high, closing under a bearish trap under the falling 17 on the bearish side of neutrality right here. Okay, they're not in the lower third. They're not in the upper third. They're in the middle ground, so they're still neutral. And they're in a downtrend, all right, with making lower highs and lower lows. So maybe they're coming down here. We'll see what they want to do. UNG made new all-time low yesterday. Okay, so lower high, lower low, closing under a bearish trap, under wavy 17 here. So price action made a new all-time low on UNG yesterday. So that'd be bearish and in a downtrend right there. Let's take a look at our technicals. And for the technicals, T2101 for the first part of the day. On the 15th, we did move up. And as you see, when we move up, we get less participation. See how the breadth gets weaker as we move up. Okay, when we started to move down, the breadth got stronger. So we had more participation as price retreated to lower lows. Okay, as price retreated to lows right there. All right, so there's some T2101 regarding the market breadth. T2122, okay, we spent the day, we landed inside the overbought zone, spent some time there, spent some time in the buy zone, and finished off the day camping out inside the buyer's chop zone. Okay, so that's a little bullish right there. If you can see that, we're over the midpoint. That's a much better place to be than in the oversold zone or the sell zone or the seller's chop zone. So we spent the day actually being bullish up here, okay, on small caps, mid caps. T2123, all right, on the 15-minute chart, we are in an uptrend because we made a high here and then a low, and then we made a higher high. So we're in an uptrend that's really finding it hard to see that it's moving up, all right? It's kind of, this is a really slow melt up here, okay? So price action is in an uptrend on the 15-minute chart, but notice it's still caught in the lower third. It's still, from the retracement, from the all-time highs, we're still in the lower third. That still makes us just a little bearish. Okay, so right now, currently bearish, all right, and in an uptrend right there, but not moving up. That's the problem. We're not moving up, okay? T2123, 15-minute chart. All right, 3-bar chart, low, lower low. We're in a downtrend. Again, we're in the lower third, so that makes us bearish. We're underneath the rising 200 SMA. If we back out here, that puts us at kind of neutral bullish because we're at the top of quadrant 4. Well, we're in the middle of quadrant 4. That's bullish in the upper third, okay? But down here, okay, from this perspective, that would be bullish. But from the perspective of up here, pulling back, we're still in the lower third down here. So need to see bulls be inspired to come in and start moving it up to the upper third or out of the lower third. That's what I'd like to see. T2123, 3-bar chart. Again, Still in a downtrend, still making, we made a lower high, there's a high, made a lower high, and we made a lower low. FNGU. FNGU not helping us enough, all right? Trying to help us, but not helping us enough, okay? So they held off making a lower low, all right, yesterday, all right? And they did make a higher high, but notice they did not get over the 200 SMA. They're still closing down here in the lower third. You can see here's the quad lines. Closing in the lower third, so that's bearish. And closing underneath the 200 SMA. So we got kind of a mixed bag. All right, you see this would be the big caps. Kind of showing you some weakness right here. And you go back to T2122, where we're up in the overbought zone, the buy zone, and the buyer's chop zone. Well over the midpoint of price action here. So we have a mixed bag going on. So maybe we consolidate some more, okay? So maybe I would not doubt it if we just move to the right, okay, today. We'll see what happens. So there's T2122, 15-minute chart. We just looked at FNGU 15-minute chart, again, closing in the lower third. Failing to make a lower low from this low right here is good sign. But all in all, let's look at it right now. We're showing a bearish head and shoulders, that being the head, left shoulder, possible right shoulder right here. Okay, we need to see the bulls decapitate the head, all right, to void the bearish head and shoulders pattern. Okay, so there's FNGU on the 15-minute chart. Let's take a look at the economic numbers. Okay, we're going to start off with the dollar because it's working today. Okay, move from a high. Get the drawing tools out. Okay, price move from a high down to a low and then sideways. You can see right there. That's a bear flag right there. Bear flag. Okay, we zoom in here. You can see price action. All right. We have a low here. We made a higher low. All right. And then we have a high here. We made an equal high. And now we made a higher high. Okay, so we're now in a daily uptrend. We closed near, I think it was 98.86. I'll zoom in here. Okay, so we closed right here near 98.68, 98.67. Okay, this is yesterday's close. That's the bottom of the body of this red candle from yesterday. So we're in an uptrend, all right, that's inside of a big bear flag right now. Okay, so big bear flag, and we're in a daily uptrend because we made higher lows and higher highs right here. Made higher highs. Okay, so there's the dollar. Let's take a look at Max Payne. Max Payne 664 for today. Put to call ratio 1.06. Okay, so a little over one put for each call that expires today in SPY options that expire today. Okay, take a look at the earnings calendar for today. Taiwan Semiconductor is going to report this morning 1.5 trillion. That's a market mover. Schwab's going to report this morning. Looks like 169 billion. They're going to report this morning. Intuitive Surgical still putting together their profit and loss. All right, they were due to report today. I don't know if it was morning or night, but they're still putting it together. Interactive Brokers, 117 billion. You can see they're going to report tonight. Marsh McClellan, $101 billion. These are all billions of dollars, of course. That's a trillion up there on Taiwan Semiconductor. Okay, so again, none of these are market movers except for Taiwan Semiconductor. All right, but not even Schwab. But they will have some impact on their sectors. Okay, they can help out their sectors. And the idea that Intuitive Surgical doesn't report or they don't have their P&L ready on earnings day That's not a good sign. Okay, I'm just saying that you could see some fallout from that. All right, so we'll see what happens with that. And tomorrow's just mainly familiar names. Nothing that's going to be market moving. They'll definitely help out their sectors. American Express, 230 billion. HDFC Bank Limited, 184 billion. And the Truist, 85 billion. Again, familiar names, but nothing that's really market moving. They will help out their sectors if they happen to put up some great numbers. All right, let's take a look at the economic calendar. Not sure what's going to be reported today. We're still in the midst of our shutdown. All right, so we may get reports. We might not get all of our reports. All right, so jobless claims is scheduled to be released at 8:30. PPI final demand 8:30. Retail sales 8:30. Philly Fed manufacturing index 8:30 as well. Got some Fed speakers. Business inventories at 10. Housing market index at 10. A natural gas report at 10:30. And then we have a petroleum report at noon. And then that's it, all right, for the day. Tomorrow, housing starts and permits, 8:30. Import-export prices, 8:30. Industrial production, 9:15. And a rig count at 1. Okay, so that's nothing really market moving here that I see. And a lot of this data has not been coming in due to the fact that we have a shutdown. All right, so looking at the market this morning, I said I'm going to probably pick off the lows of those opening candles. Okay, so let's go back to FNGU and let's pick up where we left off over right here. Okay, let's hit the 5. Okay, so we're going to pick up SPY right here. All right, so you can see we've got the consolidation over the prior consolidation. Okay, so you can see, just to map it out for you. Okay, got consolidation right there. Okay, so all of this is consolidation. Okay, and now we've got consolidation over prior consolidation. Okay, there's our bullish bias. Okay, so again, I'm looking to pick off the lows of the candles, all right, of my option candles, all right, this morning, based on my bias and what I see in the market so far. Okay, so there's a 5-minute chart. I will definitely mark off the first 15 minutes. There is a chance that instead of moving up, price pulls back and does a gap fill. If they do not fill the gap, all right, by noon today, there's a good chance it's going to be a nice bullish day. All right, but well, we want to hold them off from filling the gap. If they miss the gap by 1 penny or more, all right, that is going to lead me to a bullish bias. Okay, if they gap up and they held the higher ground and they fill gap, I don't know what to think. I'm probably going to be in a choppy bias or consolidation bias, in which case I probably might not trade it if they actually do fill the complete gap. All right, I probably will have a bias that price is probably going to be choppy, meaning it's just going to go back and forth from top to bottom over VWAP, not giving us any edge at all. And there's a possibility of that this morning. So I have a rule. If I see price move up and over VWAP 3 times before noon, then I mark off the top and the bottom and I wait for the breakout. Okay, otherwise it's just going to chop up my account. Okay, or I do this. Okay, I trade from here up, okay, inside the channel, from there up. Okay, so if they get the chop, that means they're coming down to here, in which case I'll look to buy the bottom down here or wherever they set the bottom at, and I'll look to trade it to the upside because we're still neutral bullish up here. So I'll continue with the with the bullish bias, but I will not be ridiculous with my share size or position, being that we're still in consolidation and moving over to the right more so than we are moving up. Remember, when price doesn't move up in your short dated options, you get incredible theta decay. Sometimes it's just not even worth it. So the best place to pick it off is in the bottom here. And when it goes just sideways, all it does is decay my options. So it's really no fun when all you get is price decay. But this will be the my strategy to move from here up. Based on what I'm seeing, we may get consolidation all day today. So we'll see what happens. All right. Only because the last time we were up in this area. Okay, just want to point this out. Okay, last time we were up in this area, notice we sold off. Okay, and we're pretty close to this sell-off area. See the head and shoulders? We're pretty close to this sell-off area again. All right, so look for the double top up here. All right, and then be careful because you may be getting a drop if you don't keep making higher highs. If you fail to make higher highs, chances are you're going to get that double top, and then price is going to come down and test the low side again from yesterday. All right, so we'll see what happens. They'll stop at the pivot and probably test the low side. We'll see what happens, though. Okay, I'm going to mark the first 15 minutes and trade the breakout. Okay, so we're going to have a breakout right here. See, this is the pre-market range. So right here is a green erases red entry over the consolidation in the pre-market. It's the same thing we did yesterday. Okay, we had a breakout line, and from price crosses the breakout line, okay, that is an entry to the upside. Yesterday did not go far at all. Okay, it was 2 10-minute candles, and then it rolled over back to the VWAP line. All right, so let's take a look at the 10-minute. All right, and you can see right here, this is the big spike candle. Let me zoom in even more so you can see it clearly. Okay, so this is our spike candle. The point of interest is VWAP, that's the burnt brown line. That makes this the rubber band candle. All right, the very next candle. Notice it surpasses the spike candle. Okay, so now if price closes candles up here over the rubber band candle, all right, it is said that price retreating back to VWAP has a very low percentage of retreating back to VWAP if they're able to take out the highs of the rubber band candle. All right, so here's the 10-minute rubber band candle. Notice they did not take out the highs. Okay, they failed. And look how the magnet from the rubber band pulled price and sucked it right back down into VWAP right here. Then we got a little mini exhaustion candle, played the bounce, okay, right into this support area, all right, for a buck right there, and then played a $3 bounce right into the pivot, and that's where the pivot was yesterday. Thank you, Alan, for sharing that. All right, so there's SPY on the 10-minute. That's what happened yesterday. Notice the rubber band candle, all right, the free-floating candle, all right, that surpasses the spike candle. Okay, so that's the bullish 10-minute, because you're on the 10-minute chart, rubber band candle. This is the bullish 10-minute, because you're on the 10-minute chart, spike candle right there. Okay, you notice right here, they couldn't close a candle underneath that either. Notice they could not make it back to VWAP. Okay, when that happens, probably get another rollover. And then you had exhaustion right here. So immediately I'm looking to trade right into the pivot. Biggest red candle move right into the pivot, the support area. So I'm looking for price to pull back to VWAP after I see this exhaustion candle move. All right. All right, so that's it for me this morning. Thanks, Alan. Thanks, Roasted. Thank you, everybody. All right, don't forget, I'll be in the combo room at noon. All right, and give me about 35 minutes, and we'll be back and we'll record today's morning session. All right, thank you, everybody. Okay, you can see Alan posted it. Jobless claims delayed, PPI final demand delayed, and retail sales delayed. All three reports were due to come out at 8:30. Again, like I said, market not getting its data, economic data, due to the fact that we're still in the shutdown. So, again, I don't know how the market's going to take that. All right, I'll see you guys in about 35 minutes.